Over the past 20 years, Missouri hunters have donated more than 2 million pounds of venison for Share the Harvest, and it's growing each and every year. Last year, Missouri hunters donated approximately 6,100 deer, or more than 350,000 pounds of venison, to Share the Harvest. That was up from 4,600 deer in 2009 and 4,200 deer in 2008. I'm proud to have been part of Share the Harvest last year, harvesting both a buck and a doe and giving both to the process, one at Cahokia Meat Processing there in Clark County, and hopefully and confidently that venison made it to families that were in need. For hunters who haven't been part of the Share the Harvest before, this is the season to get involved. Helping those in need is now easier than ever. Simply visit the state's website at mo.gov and click on Share the Harvest to find a full list of participating meat processors. After harvesting your deer, take it to the nearest processor and indicate how much venison you'd like to contribute. For a few pounds to an entire deer, any contribution will make a difference. And also work with the Conservation Federation and Conservation. All of that information is out there. We've worked very hard to make sure it's available to all hunters. In many places across Missouri, there's no charge to the hunter to have their donated venison processed. And that's because of the generosity of Missourians, the organization of the Conservation Federation, and the Department of Conservation. And in every case, the Share the Harvest partners are doing everything they can to keep the costs down for hunters. Now, your local processor will butcher, package, and store the venison until it's delivered to a local food bank, where the venison will be given directly to families that are in need. Once again, we're delighted to have Missouri's food banks joining us as formal partners in this expansion. Food banks understand that Share the Harvest is an extremely cost-effective way to get healthy, lean, and nutritious protein into Missourians' diet. Peggy Kirkpatrick from the Food Bank from the Central and Northeast Missouri here in Columbia has been a strong and steadfast partner in these efforts, and I thank her for her hard work. And I'm also pleased to announce today that $1 million in assistance that will go to the Missouri Association of Food Banks, the 6 regional food banks that cover the entire state, including the food bank here in Central and Northeast Missouri, are part of this association, and those food banks reach out to food pantries and communities across our state. Missouri's food banks will once again be partnering with Share the Harvest, in fact, enhancing that partnership to help feed families in need. Together, those 6 regional food banks will donate more than $150,000 of that additional funding I mentioned before to support Share the Harvest in their regions. These dollars will help Share the Harvest up its capacity to accept 10,000 deer, which could feed 150,000 families. Now it's up to us as hunters to meet that 10,000 goal. This builds on the significant additional funding we were able to provide for Share the Harvest to expand its reach in 2009 and 2010. Now, as I said earlier, hunting, and particularly deer hunting, is a strong part of Missouri's outdoor legacy. Last hunting season, Missouri hunters harvested almost 275,000 deer, and our Department of Conservation does an incredible job in managing and harvesting and regulating harvesting of that herd. From muzzle loading to youth hunting to bow season to regular firearm season, Missouri hunters are skilled, safe, and are passing on those skills to the next generation of boys and girls. Of course, there are 2 major deer seasons coming up that present perfect opportunities for Share the Harvest. First, youth deer season is next weekend. Parents and grandparents, youth season is a perfect opportunity to teach young people about Missouri's legacy of sportsmanship and generosity by donating to Share the Harvest. And of course, regular firearm season will begin November 12th. Those are in addition to the ongoing archery season, the antlerless firearm season later this month, the muzzle loading season in December, and the January portion of the youth season and the urban season last month. For 20 seasons, Share the Harvest has been an important part of Missouri's legacy of sportsmanship and conservation. And because of the hard work of the Conservation Federation, the Department of Conservation, and all of our partners, this year will be even bigger than ever. I thank all the hunters who have made Share the Harvest so successful over the years, and I encourage folks who haven't participated in the past to get involved this year. The need is great out there. We have visited 2 significant food banks today, one in St. Louis, one in Kansas City, and the message is very clear. This protein is a valuable part of diets and is significantly superior to much of the starch that it replaces in the food bank process. So the more venison that we can put in the system, not only is it good for us it's also especially good for those that are on the receiving end by making their diets more protein rich. So together, we can fight hunger and foster hope for families all across our great state.